Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at Inside Star Citizen conflict resolution.
As the Pyro star system is lawless, this means that combat can break out anywhere. Social spaces can turn into combat spaces in the blink of an eye.
The main experience we're trying to build is something that feels a bit more like wild and not the typical thing that you've seen in Stanton. So the themes are a bit more chaotic than you'd expect. So for example, if you're shopping and then someone decides to...
So it says combat anywhere, at any time. That sounds just like people camping and shooting each other. You know, I'll wait for you to do your transaction, then I'll shoot you and take your stuff.
Yeah, like I don't even have to do my own mission. I'll just wait for some other Timmy to go pick up the package, and then I'll just take it once he arrives.
Take a firefight view because they think your armor's cool and they want it. You can jump over that kiosk, sit behind that cover, and return fire. So you're basically turning this shopping mall, which you were at previously, into a combat zone.
So they can attack you while you're shopping, which... with the time to kill, that means you're just dead. Like they can already kill you so fast. By the time you get out of the menu, you can't get behind cover.
Yeah, you better be buying that really good armor that protects you at least for 5 shots that they're gonna take while you're still shopping.
All right, let's see what else they have to say.
These spaces were built modularly with various different overlays that had to stitch together, but also make sure that it accounted for a fair combat fight and easy navigation for both vehicles and any other light elements that you want to be able to bring to these places. As for the trade posts, because of their ever-shifting inventory of things they could sell, could buy, things being on display, this changes the layout of the trade post itself.
Taking everyday objects in the trading post, like weapon terminals, something that you would purchase, would then, as soon as a fight is initiated, that becomes cover.
So essentially, since they're shooting at components, but I can still buy them afterwards, that would mean that the components do not take damage from firearms?
The ones that are on display won't, but if you were just carrying one in your hand, I think it would.
Okay.
Cover. You would be using these things to help yourself to not get shot by the enemy, essentially.
So you could be ducking behind cover behind a ship component that you want to purchase for your ship later, but first you've got to take care of this rival gang attacking you. Then afterwards, you can decide, hey, I need to grab a multi-tool for this other salvage mission I need to go to. So after the firefight is finished, you go to the counter, pick up your multi-tool with a salvage component, pay for it, chip's done, and off you head out.
Taking what we've learned and these setups from Squadron 42 to Pyro, for example, NPCs having specific archetypes and having more specific classes, using things like defend areas and keeping NPCs in specific areas. Pyro, we're taking that to the next level, where we're having more specific areas used for defenses and things like that, and making areas stay in NPCs. We're also using something called schedule areas, which basically enforces NPCs to stay within a certain vicinity in combat. For 4.0, with server meshing, we expect higher server frame rates. So the
server frame rate, that's really important. I really hope they get significantly consistent high frames. Like I'm hoping for at least 15. Currently you get like 7 or less.
Yeah, and I believe this is also going to be needed for when they actually add in more AI. Currently, half of them are bugged out just standing on like random ramps and stuff. So hopefully with a better server frame rate, we'll actually see them doing something, not just standing there.
Yeah, let's just get the server to recover if it's less than 15.
So the idea is that you'll get a much more engaging AI experience. Let's talk about some of those classes. We have what we call our techie, which typically features light armor and SMGs, and they have more aggressive traits. So they're focused on getting close to you and flushing you out. Similar with our CQC class, which typically has shotguns, and obviously they have the much higher aggression version. You've seen us talk about traits at CitizenCon, and this is putting that work in the persistent universe and allowing us to create more dynamic situations. We're doing other things as well. For example, we're making NPCs hold up in rooms with shotguns and things like that. So when you have to eliminate a specific target and you're going into a room, those guys are specifically holding up there and you're kind of...
I think this one is going to be fun, like adding some more complexity to you getting places And I'm really hoping they respawn. So if somebody takes them out and just starts camping there instead of the AI, they can't really do that because they keep respawning. So they'd have to keep fighting them. That's my only concern with this.
Yeah, there would need to be a limit on the respawn. Otherwise, they will just farm the people. That always is an issue where people just sit around and farm it over and over and over again the moment it spawns.
Yeah, but with the fact that you only have limited inventory, I don't think farming would really work unless they actually give you like a container or something you could take out. But if you only could like switch out your current armor for theirs or something like that, then respawning wouldn't be really an issue.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I see little red canisters. Can I shoot those and make them explode?
Those ones on the left kind of look like the fire extinguishers.
Exploding stuff is always cool, though. Let's see what else they have to say.
Having a tug of war of them in close quarters environments versus them just kind of walking around the area. With our Juggernaut enemy, you'll have seen that that's the incredibly highly healthed LMG enemy, which ignores all shooting restrictions, can focus on pushing the player and shooting them out, and basically being that slow-moving target that walks towards you.
So that's pretty cool. It sounds just like a bullet sponge. It'd be kind of cool to, mount up with that armor in the back of a vehicle or in the back of a aircraft and fly by and, guns blazing. Although you might as well just use your ship weapons. They're more powerful.
Similar, including things like Copions into battle.
Domesticated animals.
One of the factions has pet Copions, and Copions fight alongside them, and that is fantastic because it gives you a different silhouette when you're fighting these factions. You have to shoot a lot lower, you have to be a lot more conscious because they're a lot quicker than a human being. And
does that mean we're going to have pets? They're domesticated?
I think domesticated is a little far-fetched of a term, but forced to work for you, maybe?
I think it's the first step to having pets. All right, let's see what else they have.
Just these nice little new additions to combat. We're integrating more things in terms of having people who are more aggressive, having different factions, having different accuracy profiles, and making the factions in Pyro feeling a bit more versatile and different to when you fight each other. These encounters are a lot more crafted and bespoke. Pyro is a system of conflict, and in there's many factions vying over control.
I think they did a really good job there with like the armor and them looking so different. Like that part looks really, really cool, and I'm really hoping that you can take that armor and run around looking this cool.
I hope they make the armor actually have different stats though, because currently light armor all has the same stats, medium armor all has the same stats, and same with heavy. So I would like some diversity in actual stats and some differences in why you would wear what.
Yeah, kind of like your more traditional, like, hey, it's cold, you have to have your fur armor. It's hot, you have to, on Pyro, you have to have like that armor, that kind of stuff. And let's see what else they have.
When you arrive at Pyro, one of the first things you want to do is enlist one of the two primary factions. The Headhunters have more tiered structured armor, which you can acquire. The more higher tiered the armor is, the more tanky and resistant those enemies are.
There's the answer. You can acquire it.
Yay. Now, who's the Headhunters and who's the other people? I guess we'll find out.
As a headhunter, you might be hovering around the Sunset Mesa, trying to think of how you're going to get close by. You would land your ship under the cover of darkness. You're taking your ground vehicle to the outpost. You're then getting out, trying to sneak past the outer perimeter, and eventually navigating your way down to either the gas tanks or to the main landing pit itself, and finding the exact critical point that would break the entire operation at the scrapyard.
Citizens of Prosperity have much higher and deadly accuracy. They also have more civil weaponry versus criminal weaponry as well, so you'll see things more like bearings and so on and so forth, versus other more lawless factions which typically have things like Castak arms.
If you're aligned with the Citizens for Prosperity, you might be given a mission to go to Rustville and actually head down into the canyons and try to steal some of their scrap from their derelict ships in the base of the canyons. Because of Pyro 1's unique terrain where Rustville is located, you will need to get into your ground vehicle again, navigate through all the twisting canyons and ravines.
So they say ground vehicle. Why do I have to have a ground vehicle? Never needed one before.
I think that's a huge part here is that there's actually a purpose of having a ground vehicle in terms of you can't get close with a ship. They will detect you. They will fire upon you. You have to basically sneak up, and the more efficient way rather than walking is going to be your ground vehicle.
Yeah, if we go back and take a look, it looks like that doesn't look normal. It looks more like a defense system up in that top left corner. And there were some other ones too. Those look like turrets. So maybe that's why you need a ground vehicle. But just get an A1 bomber and hopefully you can just destroy them and then just fly in with a vulture. They should add a ground vehicle that's like a vulture, so I don't have to get out of my vehicle.
So you want a scrapping ground vehicle, kind of like the Rock does mining, but you want a scrapping one?
Correct.
I'm not opposed to that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe they'll say something about that.
And use your multi-tool to steal as much scrap as possible to end up sabotaging the unlimited supply of scrap that the headhunters at Rustville have got.
So regardless if you side with headhunters or Citizens of Prosperity, you will both be able to fight the Xenothreat.
These hate everybody. They are operating out of Pyro 2, 3, and Pyro 6.
The Xenothreat is more what you'd think of as a PMC in terms of how you fight them and how they behave. They're a lot more cautious, they're a lot more careful, you know, they won't try rush you out of cover, they play a lot more defensively. And we can use our trait system to inform how they make combat decisions. So where you'd expect someone like the Headhunters to be a bit more, you know, run at you, push you out, the Xenothreat characters will be a lot more cautious and stationary and prefer to stay in cover and take long shots. And they'll have a much higher accuracy profile, but they'll shoot for much shorter durations, so they conserve their ammo a lot more.
A place we're going to fight Xenothreat is at the Last Ditch settlement on Pyro 2. Last Ditch is another large, lawless settlement.
We have a town close by it, and then different mining operations between the village and the mining tower.
And it's kind of a callback to the history of the system, where there was once these mega corporations in Pyro that would do these large-scale mining operations.
It's a vital part in the Pyro ecosystem for these outlaw gangs to control. So we can also see here that there is fortifications, but they're mainly around the village from which these gangs operate.
But interestingly, it's almost built on 3 levels. There's like a main habitation area on top of this bluff, and then just down from that is the refinery area. And then right at the base of the super large mega mining structure is a small sort of extraction area in an old kind of quarry. Should make for some very interesting fights, especially as you move between those sort of 3 sub-locations.
That's a really cool big tower. Wonder if I can do anything with it.
I think this could just be a comms tower of how they talk to each other over long distances.
Be cool if it was like a raid base and you go in it and each floor gets harder and harder. Kind of like a tower in mobile games.
Could be cool, but I don't know if that's what it is.
Yeah, probably not, but it'd be cool. Let's see what else they have.
Within the larger location.
I hope that the player will get a sense of trying to stop Xenothreat with their evil deeds.
So that's cool and all, but why will I want to do it? What are they adding that'll make it worth its while? I would love to earn like some awesome ship components, but I would also love those components to break so that I have a reason to do it again.
I'm also thinking it could be something like in Helldivers where a planet is no longer available if you don't defend it. So that could be a motivation to defeat the Xenothreat. So you can actually still go to the planet and they don't take it completely over. Or if they take it over, it would be like the ultimate challenge to, you know, get those resources and materials by defeating them.
That'd be a lot like territories in an MMO. That'd be, I don't know, good and bad. Has its positives and negatives, gives you a reason to fight for it. But I don't know about locking out the whole planet. I would just say make it dangerous to go to that planet if you're not aligned with that faction.
Well, yeah, and nobody would be aligned with Xenothreat. That's everybody's enemy. So it would just be like another layer of forced combat, more or less, that you'd experience.
Shadowfall is another Xenothreat outpost. It's quite a large Xenothreat outpost that lives in the shadow of this mountain on Pyro 3 and kind of just sits on the shore of this lake.
This location hits different. It's a location just like the outlaw locations, but we can feel that things have been turned up further. It is not only is it chaos, but it is now a structured chaos.
There's fire and there's these spiked barricades that make up the place around it.
Within the homestead location, we have a lot of elevated positions that the player will look to. We'll see that there is a lot of scaffolding build up, and it feels like a fortified position.
So in 3.23, we added sniper NPCs to the distribution centers.
I would love it if they made it so that I could give resources to the area and make it better and improve areas. That may come way down the line and probably not with Pyro at all, but that'd be cool to actually work towards something.
Yeah, that might be something they could add in when they finally add in base building, since you're already building and manufacturing parts. I can see them maybe including that then.
Yeah, but I would also love to see it with, let's say in order to get this update, you don't get it until the entire community provides enough resources to build the new jump gate. Like, you don't get Pyro until you build enough resources to build the gate. And the whole community has to work together to do that. And then they can have, AIs try to slow us down and have like a DM or something like in Dungeons and Dragons that controls the AI like it's a strategy game or something. I don't know.
I think that would be interesting and definitely more engaging and would keep people more interested with all the delays and stuff. And people are like, oh, I'm not going to play it. But if you have something like that, people would be forced to play and keep playing until the goal is met. So that could actually be a really good approach of keeping people interested as well.
How we're validating combat is ensuring that the players can have a lot more stealthy approach, have a lot more overview of what their targets are doing and where they're going.
I hope these snipers are like Tarkov snipers and you're just going about your day and all of a sudden you're getting shot at 10,000 miles away through a bush. That's always fun.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned that before. Like, talk to Nikita about the OPAI that will just snap straight to your head from 5 miles away. That'd be fun and challenging.
So you could use elevation to plan things out, such things as a comms tower, such things as cliff edges. You can basically survey over the trade post or the outpost itself. You could look at key things. Does it have automated weapon systems there? Does it have primary, secondary, and tertiary pathing to allow the player in?
It's all about defensive structures, about obstructing the player in order to get to its objective, with a lot of anti-air turrets littered around the location.
A lot of anti-air turrets. This is how they want people to use vehicles.
Making sure that vehicles is your easier way in.
Yep, unless you have a bomber.
Even then, you're going to run out of bombs sooner or later.
And bombs are very expensive.
Yeah, so you're paying for it, so it better be worth it, whatever you find in these places. But yeah, I think this actually makes vehicles much more worth it, because right now vehicles is either mining or racing. I don't see really a point of anybody using a vehicle currently.
Yeah, I just hope they make everything in the game faster. Like, flying should be faster, vehicles should be faster. Walking and running is fine, but the universe is so big, I don't want to spend 2 hours to get to a location.
All right, let's see what else they have to say.
You are going to need to use your aerial support to take out these defensive measures so that you can even get people close to the location. Eventually, you can pull in your ground vehicles, drop off an elite squad. You can stealth through the scrapyard, you can stealth via the nearby lake, come through the derelict outpost section, finally clearing out Xeno threat once and for all.
Well, until they come back.
From another outpost.
It's definitely a place that will just feel very hostile to the player. And you feel like this is a location that has a purpose within the universe and that it's important for these outlaw gangs to protect what they have going right here.
But what is it they're protecting? What is it that they need to hold it for? That's something they haven't really talked about or said. And what are they producing?
Well, we know that there's like derelict components, and there's going to be some sort of resources that you can only find there. I believe that said that in the first Pyro video. It's like there's some sort of resource that can only be found on certain planets in the Pyro system. So I'm guessing kind of like blood diamonds, you can only find them in one location. You probably want to control at least some of the territory to have access to that.
Yep, and drugs are going to be a big part. most likely.
Drugs, illegal weapons, illegal ship components, anything like that, I think, will be a thing.
But can I buy the people? Because they had people in a cage in the previous video.
I think you should be able to. That could be fun. I need more workers on my ship.
Yeah, it's like Pal World, but it's Star Citizen, right? You can capture the human and force them to work.
In 4.0, you can expect a lot more crafted, engaging combat experiences, with new archetypes, enemies using new weapons, fighting animals alongside humans, and all sorts of absolute crazy that you expect from Pyro.
Now, is that actually in the game? Or is that just in this video? And did they get, are they allowed to have that in there?
It's his cousin. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
And where's Doctor Who? Can they make a new spaceship and have it be a TARDIS?
All right, Bosch.
Well, what more can I add?
So more characters, more creatures. I think they were going to talk about the space whales.
And hopefully also about some pets or domesticated animals that we can have. That'd be fun.
Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week. And hopefully you'll watch our new series coming out on Monday.